The Chafetz Chaim Zecher Tzadik Livracha, who lived at the turn of the 20th century in Rodin in Europe, gave the following mashal. He said that there was once an individual who was sick, and the person came with his symptoms to the doctor, and the doctor said to him, "Okay, I see what the symptoms are. I diagnose you with this. Take the following medicine." And the person took the medicine, and nothing happened. Didn't get better. So then he went to another doctor and said, "Maybe I'll be better off with a second opinion." He went to the other doctor and showed the symptoms, the same symptoms that he had, and the doctor said, "Oh, the first doctor was wrong. Take this medicine and you'll be okay." Lo and behold, the person took the medicine and he never got any better. So he went to a third opinion, to a third doctor, and he told him, "I went to 2 previous doctors and the doctors gave me this and that. I took the medicine, didn't feel any better." The doctor examines the individual and says, "The other doctors were diagnosing the symptoms. I am looking at the picture differently. I'm looking at the bigger picture. The bigger picture is that when I examined you, I noticed that your heart was a little bit slow. If your heart is slow, it represents that your heart is not sufficiently pumping enough blood to the various areas of your body that is in need, and that's the reason why you have this ailment, and you're showing symptoms that these other doctors have diagnosed you and gave you medicine for. So instead of treating your symptoms, I'm going to treat the core of the problem, which is I'm going to treat your heart. And I'm going to try to make sure that your heart is able to be strong, continue pumping blood, and then you'll see you feel better." And says the Chafetz Chaim, that's what happened. When the heart was treated, when the heart was able to become stronger and to pump more blood, the individual started feeling better. And we know that that's how the human body works. Our heart is constantly pumping, beating, pumping blood throughout our system, that if we didn't have the heart working as hard as it does and working efficiently, then we start to have problems, chas v'shalom, in different areas of our body. And the reason why the Chafetz Chaim gave this mashal, particularly on this week's parsha, Parshas Ki Tisa, is because when Torah is still talking about the building of the Mishkan, after the Torah speaks about the various spices, the wonderful aroma that there was to be in the Mishkan, the Torah says, Hashem told Moshe to tell the Bnei Yisrael, "Ach es Shabbososai tishmoru," but make sure you keep the Shabbos. That even though God so much wanted the Mishkan to be completed, and the architecture and everything that was done so beautifully, and all the detail that was paid attention to, even though Hashem wanted it to be done so that Bnei Yisrael, the Jewish people, have a physical place to worship God in, He said, don't do it on Shabbos. Shabbos is considered to be Kodesh. It's considered to be holy. And the Chafetz Chaim explains that just as the heart is the core, the place where the rest of the body gets its existence from, so too the heart of the Jewish people is the Shabbos. And all the blood flow that the Jewish people have as a nation throughout their body collectively comes from the observance, the keeping of Shabbos. And so the Chafetz Chaim says that we have to be careful in his generation to make sure that there is no zilzul, there's no violation, there's no desecration of Shabbos. In our generation, Shabbos takes on a different level. And that is, the previous generation, certainly in America, struggled with a very, very difficult situation in which there were many people who lost their jobs because they didn't work on Shabbos. And we're told as they worked throughout the week, if you don't come to work on Shabbos, don't come to work on Monday. There were other people who weren't able, for whatever reason, to keep that commitment. And so there was a major, major challenge of Shemira Shabbos, to be a Shomer Shabbos in the previous generation. In our generation, the idea of a person being fired because they wouldn't work on Shabbos is something that we rarely hear of. And so perhaps in our generation is less of a challenge of being a Shomer Shabbos and more of a challenge of being what we call a Mekadesh Shavi'i, sanctifying the day of Shabbos, sanctifying the seventh day. Being a Shomer Shabbos is not doing something active, meaning not working, but being a Mekadesh Shavi'i is doing something active, albeit on a spiritual level. It means looking at the day of Shabbos and making sure that we try to attain some spiritual elevation through the actions that we perform on the day of Shabbos, through the davening that we take part in, through the kiddush that we have where we speak to each other and speak to friends and see people we haven't seen all week, through our Shabbos meals, the words of Torah that we speak about, the weekly Torah portion about our parsha, or through the zemiros, the songs that we sing, and the beautiful food, the delicious food, and the aroma that we have in the house, and the beautiful Shabbos candles. Our challenge in our generation is really to make Shabbos into Shabbos. To be Mekadesh Shvi, to sanctify the day of Shabbos. It doesn't mean that Shabbos is just stopping all electricity and not working and just sitting at home and doing nothing. That's not Shabbos. Shabbos means to find spiritual life within ourselves, that we can light the spark within us, the beautiful spark and the flame of the Shabbos candles that lasts within us throughout the week as we go through the daily challenges of our lives. May we be zocha, may we merit to look at Shabbos not as a burden, but as a tremendous blessing, to take advantage of the sanctity of Shabbos and be able to attain spiritual heights that God had also intended for us to attain in the Mishkan. And in doing so, we will be able to be Mekadesh Shvi. Thank you for listening and have a good Shabbos.